Welcome back with Jimmy Kimmel Show Sideline. We've heard from many on the left crying free speech and announcing the arrival of fascism. That's what Democrats are doing when they take it a step further, calling out FCC Chair Brendan Carr.
Trump's FCC forced a major network to pull a loud Trump critic, Jimmy Kimmel, off the air, essentially saying that any media actor that doesn't say what Trump wants them to say about Charlie Kirk or Trump's policies is going to be silenced. That's censorship. That's state speech control. That's not America.
Joining me now to respond to all of this is FCC Chairman Brendan Carr. Chairman, thank you so much for being with us here today. You just heard from the senator. That was Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut. What would you say to the senator?
Well, look, I think President Trump has fundamentally changed the direction of this country, and one of the ways that he's done that is he's run directly at these legacy mainstream broadcasters, and he's smashed the facade that they get to control what we get to say and what we get to think. And the key point here is that these were local TV stations licensed by the FCC that have a public interest obligation to serve their local community. They pushed back on Disney and said, we don't think that this type of programming is responsive to the needs of our viewers in Utah, in Pennsylvania. And that's exactly the way the system has supposed to work from the get-go. But we haven't seen it in a very long time. We've been clear. We're reinvigorating the public interest. I think this is an important step in the right direction.
Let's talk about that, reinvigorating the public interest regulation under the banner of the FCC for these licensed airwaves owned by the public, granted to institutions like ABC, NBC, and CBS. This is part of the Communications Act of 1934. I want to ask you about this public interest doctrine that you want to reinvigorate. I did a little bit of research, Commissioner, and it does give you, and it gives the FCC, a great amount of flexibility and leeway to decide what serves the public interest. I did come up with a list of examples that include, for example, a wide range of perspectives present on the programming, balanced and fair coverage of elections and events. What are you using to analyze whether or not a licensed broadcaster is serving the public interest?
Here's how it's supposed to work. The national programmers, Disney, come up with all the programming they want. They're not licensed by the FCC. They have no public interest obligation. They can create whatever they want, however good or bad. But then when they hand that content over, that programming over to local TV stations, it's on the local TV station to decide whether they think that programming is in the public interest. Now, if there's a dispute about that and they end up airing it, someone can raise a complaint with the FCC. They can bring a news distortion complaint. They can bring a claim under our broadcast hoax rules. But in the main, we want local TV stations standing in for their consumers and the national programmers to work this out on their own. But look, the American public have gotten a crash course in media law over the last 24 hours, and I think it's a good thing.
No, and you're helping us out here as well, and you're speaking specifically about Nexstar and Sinclair, which pushed back on ABC. We should note that some of these broadcast networks do have owned and operated affiliates as well, in which case they would be using FCC airwaves. You said this morning, Commissioner, on CNBC, not just what you've told me here today, that you're going to reinvigorate the public interest regulation of the FCC, but you suggested this could be the start, that you're looking for other places to apply this doctrine. Can you tell me more? Where?
Yeah, I think the last couple of decades, you've seen the FCC really step back from enforcing the public interest standard, and I don't think that that's a good thing. Just look at the trust in national mainstream media. I mean, it's just in an absolute nosedive. And look at the ratings for people like Jimmy Kimmel. I mean, they are going away, their audience and their viewers, faster than my hair's gone away from the top of my head. They talked in the segment before about Johnny Carson. I was reminded today, someone posted a story that when Johnny Carson was retiring, Leno and Letterman were competing to replace him. And according to the story, at least, Leno went out to the local TV affiliate stations and explained to them why he would be better for their viewers, while people thought that Letterman was more of a coastal elite. And so, again, we're going back to that era when local TV stations judging the public interest get to decide what the American people think. And again, we're constraining the power through those actions of Disney, of Comcast. I think the American public are going to be much better off. But yeah, I don't think this is the last shoe to drop. This is a massive shift that's taking place in the media ecosystem, and I think the consequences are going to continue to flow.
I'm sorry, I have to follow up. I understand the mechanism, and that is, as you're suggesting, it comes from the bottom up. It comes from local affiliates up to the broadcast networks as to what content fits the public interest. But what do you suspect when you say it's not the last shoe to drop? I mean, coming out and onto those local airwaves from broadcast sources is morning programming. It's the nightly news, where we saw something like we saw the other night from Matt Gutman at ABC. It is late night programming. So can you give us any insight? What are you talking about when you say not the last shoe to drop?
Look, we're going to continue to hold these broadcasters accountable to the public interest. And if broadcasters don't like that, simple solution, they can turn their license into the FCC. There's other things that we can do with it that would serve the national interest. And frankly, other people would want to use this spectrum. But we're going to continue to make clear that we're holding broadcasters accountable to the public interest. And again, I think that's going to be a really good thing for the country. Again, people can go on podcasts and go on cable shows like this. You don't have a license from the FCC. So there's a lot more they can do there. There's no public interest obligation on those outlets.
Okay. Commissioner, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.